For more on this story, we're joined from Yaounde, Cameroon by multimedia journalist Blaise Eyong. A very good afternoon to you, Blaise. Thanks so very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Thank you for having me, Flo.
You're most welcome. Let's talk about, what took place yesterday. What happened from the images that you saw, from what you heard people saying. Talk to us about what took place.
From what I heard from sources on the ground, especially police officers who were stationed outside the Olembe Stadium, they said people came in their numbers, a huge crowd from neighboring neighborhoods around the Olembe Stadium. They came in and some of them heard that access to the stadium was free. They came and got together with people who had tickets. They were stopped by security forces from entering. And then all of a sudden, some of them started forcing their way to enter the stadium, and some scaled over the fence to try to find their way inside the stadium. That's when the stampede happened, because a lot of people were trying to force their way into the stadium. But we also have reports that some other gates in the Olembe Stadium, in a massive stadium like that, it has multiple gates. All the other gates were closed except for the one where the stampede happened, from reports we've gotten so far. And so they say this is the reason why, this may be the reason why the stampede happened, because there were people who genuinely had tickets, who wanted to get into the stadium.
Yes.
They knew that Cameroon was playing, but they could not get access.
Yeah, interestingly, I heard Patrice Motsepe talking, the president of the Confederations of African Football, and one of the journalists present in that press briefing was talking about, capping capacity for the games going forward. And what his response was that, the issue wasn't necessarily capacity, as you mentioned. It seems as though there was some sort of miscommunication and people just sort of all arrived, more people than should have arrived. But let's talk to the issue of capacity. I mean, how has it been since AFCON started in terms of access to the grounds? Because we do know that they're not accepting full capacity to start with. So what can you tell us about how full stadiums have been, bearing in mind that we're still in this pandemic?
When this tournament began early this month, you have very few people that turn out to go to stadiums. Even the opening match, the opening game in Yaounde, there were very few people that attended games. People prefer to watch in giant screens in viewing centers around the city. But I was in the first match for the knockout stages in Limbe, and the stadium was jam-packed. I have on video, I saw on camera as people overpower security forces in Limbe and found their way into the stadium. And that's the same thing in Yaounde, because as games progresses, as teams get to go to the next level, more and more people are excited to see the big stars that they've seen on television. They're excited to support their team to the victory. And for a country like Cameroon, the host country, there are so many fans in Yaounde trying to make it to the stadium. You may have heard that even the president of the African Football Confederation could not reach the stadium yesterday because the road leading from Yaounde to Olembe was completely blocked because of traffic.
Yeah, and could there be consequences perhaps for the remaining matches in the tournament, perhaps maybe stricter crowd control measures? I mean, what are some of those discussions that are being had at the moment? What are you hearing from officials? Of course, we have been hearing from the president of the Confederation of African Football talking, but just in terms of what you're hearing could possibly be happening in terms of moving forward for the next matches. I mean, it can't be status quo, given that and the number could increase. 8 people have already passed on.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned in your introduction, before the tournament started, the CAF said that they're going to have 80% for the host nation and 60% capacity for non-host nation. That may change now. He has also mentioned in a press briefing a short while ago that they're going to have closed-door meeting and have a discussion about what happened. Also, all the other games that are supposed to play in Olembe, at least all the other two games that were supposed to play in Olembe this week, will be moved to another stadium in Yaounde called the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium. So we may see a situation where CAF may say, okay, you will have 50% or 40% or 30%. I think that CAF is going to act, because this single deadly incident has completely, or is almost destroying the image of the 2021 African Cup of Nations.
All right. Thanks very much, Blaise, for your input and contributing on the show. We certainly do appreciate it, sir. All right. That is Blaise Eyong, who's a multimedia journalist, speaking to us about, of course, that stampede that took place at Cameroon Stadium, Olembe Stadium, where 8 have been killed, and of course fears that that number may certainly rise.